sweet home. The Texans begin the first of their 3-game home stretch hosting the New York Jets. The Jets have played 4 different quarterbacks this year, but today it'll be their number 2 overall draft pick, Zach Wilson, under center, who returns after missing 4 games with a knee injury. Tyrod Taylor, who scrambled for a pair of touchdowns last week, has a rushing touchdown in 2 of his 3 starts this year. Linebacker Jacob Martin, he's put up back-to-back games with a sack and a forced fumble. And as a unit, the Texans are tied for 4th in the NFL with 19 takeaways on the season, more than half of which have come in the past 2 games. Last week, Houston's defense picked off Ryan Tannehill 4 times and hopes to have a repeat performance against a rookie quarterback today. What do the Texans need to do to get their 2nd win in a row? We've got answers, a one-on-one with center Jimmy Morrissey, and starting lineups for today. Texans Unlimited, presented by Verizon, starts now.
We are ready to rock in Houston.
Touchdown, Houston!
Are you kidding? What a catch. Oh, baby.
Welcome into Texans Unlimited, presented by Verizon. It's Week 12. It's the Salute to Service game. It's the Houston Texans hosting the New York Jets. I welcome in my co-host, Drew Doherty, because we've got so much news to get into today that we're going to change the order of the show a little bit.
Yeah, there are a few bits of news coming out of the Texans inactives list. Justin Reed is not going to suit up today. He was not really listed with a serious injury on the injury report all week, so that's a bit of a surprise. No Justin Reed, one of your leaders, not just on the defense but on the team, will not go. You also see some of the other names. Jordan Akins, another semi-surprising scratch. He was also inactive last week against the Tennessee Titans. He will not go again today. So, Brevin Jordan, Anthony Auclair, and your starter, Pharaoh Brown at tight end, plus LeBlanc, Davis, Deshaun Watson, the quarterback as well, and Jeff Driscoll, who, DP, last week, he was inactive, and he was listed as an inactive quarterback, and there were a lot of folks on Twitter who were like, well, actually, he's a tight end now. And I was like, yeah, I know that too, but that's what the Texans were saying. So he's inactive as a tight end now, and that's one of 4 tight ends on the roster. 2 of them not going to go today. A little bit of surprising news there. Some good bit of news, it's not surprising, is Jonathan Grenard is back.
He's back.
That's a good thing. He's been your best player on defense this season.
Yeah, also Lane Taylor, who was activated off of the practice squad to the active roster, the offensive lineman that we haven't seen anything from him this year. He's active today, as is Royce Freeman, the running back. We'll get into the news about we'll look at the running backs, how that group changes. So let's get right into your top news of the week with some quick hits, and we'll hit on those a little bit more. Tyrod Taylor, he had 2 touchdowns in last week's win at Tennessee, but Brandon Cooks had an uncharacteristically quiet day. He only caught 2 passes on 3 targets for 18 yards. Tyrod Taylor says he anticipates his number 1 target to be back in the mix today.
Yeah, I definitely think his role will get back. I mean, obviously he's our best receiver. He's a guy that's played at a high level for a number of years in this league, and our passing game runs through him. We have to obviously get him the ball and allow him to create plays down the field, even short game as well too. We was able to get it to him early in the game. Like I said, it didn't necessarily pan out the way the game shifted, kind of changed as the game went on, but we'll get back to doing that. Like I said, he means a lot to our offense and means a lot to our success.
The Texans, they released Phillip Lindsay this week after he struggled to gain yards as a running back for the Texans. So he's no longer with the Texans, but offensive coordinator Tim Kelly discussed how the rest of the running backs group will step up to fill in the gaps left in Lindsay's absence.
I think they'll just kind of, keep going as they've been playing. Obviously, Rex's workload has kind of increased a little bit. David's workload's kind of increased, and then we have Royce. So, just those guys have done everything we've asked them to do. They've done a good job learning the game plan and coming out every day and practicing, and I look forward to them doing the same thing.
And the big story in recent weeks has been this Lovie Smith defense. 19 takeaways on the season. They rank 4th in the NFL. They've gotten 5 takeaways, the Texans, in the past 2 games. Lovie Smith says getting multiple takeaways in a game isn't just a coincidence. It's now an expectation for this team.
The takeaways, I just know that we preach it, we believe in it, and the guys believe in it. And just don't think you can say that you played a good defensive game unless you take the ball away. It's not anything new. That's how we've been for many years, and it matters. When you look on the reason why a team won, you look at most times you look at turnover ratio, it kind of tells you that an awful lot. We know our part in that of taking the football away, so the guys are doing a great job of that. Intercepting the ball, we're doing a great job of that. In an ideal world, it's almost 70 plays, have a chance to punch it out a few more times. I'm talking about calls and fumbles, but that's a part of what we need to do. Last week we played a team that hadn't turned the ball over an awful lot, and they did this past week. This week we're playing a team that has turned the ball over a little bit. I just don't think that it matters an awful lot. We know we're going to have plays run at us, and those are always opportunities for us to get it away, and that's what we need to be able to do. We've done some things better defensively. Number one is keeping the ball in front of us. We haven't given up a lot of explosive plays. You have a chance to win when you do that.
There's Lovie Smith talking about his defense, and there will be some changes in that starting lineups. As you heard earlier, Justin Reed is on the inactives list for today. So let's just hit the starting lineups while we're at it. Let's bring those up. Let's look at the starting lineups for defense, Drew.
Yeah, Desmond King, after 2 picks last week, he's going to be one of your starters at corner. And you see the other one is going to be Terrence Mitchell. So down at the safety spot at the very bottom, Terrence Brooks, who hasn't played a whole lot this season, just became a member of the 53-man roster recently because he'd been on IR. He's going to start along with Eric Murray, who has been starting as well. So think about it, DP. You rewind about a month and a half. Your two starting safeties were Lonnie Johnson Jr. and Justin Reed. They're not going to be the starters today. At linebacker, Neville Hewitt. Is this a Neville Hewitt revenge game? Because he led the Jets in tackles last season. He's there playing linebacker for the Texans, as well as Kamu Grugier-Hill, Zach Cunningham. And it's nice to see number 52 back in the lineup. That defensive front has done its job this year. They've been solid. Now, you can't say anybody's been good or been solid typically in a 2-8 season, but for the most part, those four and the guys behind them at linebacker, they've done a pretty nice job getting after the quarterback, making things tough on other teams. So good to see Grenard back in the mix at defensive end.
All right, well, let's switch gears and look at your starting lineups for the offense for today. You've got Tyrod Taylor back there taking snaps under center. Great to see him back in the mix. You've got Rex Burkhead and David Johnson as your starting backs. Not a surprise. Lindsey wasn't really starting when he was here. Brandon Cooks, Chris Conley, Farrell Brown. And then your offensive line, Jaron Christian Sr., Titus Howard at left guard, Jimmy Morrissey, who gets his third start, and we'll hear from him a little bit later, Justin McCray at right guard, and right tackle Charlie Hack. So if that holds, it'll be the same offensive line that you've had 2 weeks in a row. They didn't give up a sack last week, which was a big notable accomplishment for them.
And something tells me it's not going to hold. You see that asterisk at the bottom. It says starting lineup based off of unofficial team depth chart. So we probably should say this before we show these starters. This is who it's probably going to be.
Change.
Now on defense, you might see 3-4 defensive backs, depending corners, depending on what the other team throws out there. But I don't think that's the starting lineup on the offensive line that we're going to wind up seeing today. I think there's going to be some shuffling and some movement. So just keep that in mind when you're watching it, and don't say, "Hey, those two dopes in the pregame show for the Texans had it wrong." Trust us, we think it's going to be a little different.
Well, we did mention Lane Taylor is back on the active roster, so maybe that shuffles things
Good point,
around.
DB.
That's something that you'll definitely want to keep an eye on when the game gets underway. You really don't know the true starting lineups until
it happens
until
and they're on the field. Yes,
these are all projections.
amen.
It's great to see this guy on the field. We know he definitely will be starting. Tyrod Taylor looking to get his third win. This is only his second home game
It's wild,
for this
isn't
season. The last time we saw him at home starting a game, it was against the Jacksonville Jaguars. It was week 1. Hopefully he gets the same results today that he did in week 1. It was a phenomenal game for both offense and defense in that first game. So he's back, hoping to build off of what he was able to do in last week's game. He said there's still some things to clean up because that offense struggled in the second half, but it was a rainy day at Tennessee. Not something you have to worry about here today. And with that defense playing the way it has, it seems like things will start to click very, very soon for this Texans
Yeah, I
team.
think what we saw 2-3 weeks ago in Miami was an aberration. Let's get some questions in. We got people like Joe from the UK checking us out. We get Javari in Miami, plus a host of you all across the Houston area as well. Logan was asking, will Rex Burkhead start today? I think it's a pretty safe bet. I think you will see him based on what we saw touch-wise last week. He had 16, 17, 18 rushes last week after only having like a combined 8 or 9 coming into that game. Yes, I do think Rex Burkhead is the starter at running back this afternoon.
Yeah, he is listed as a starter along with David Johnson, but I think they like what they see when Rex is in the mix. I mean, he runs really hard. He's able to get some yards on the ground. It's not been easy for any of the running backs this year. The Texans have, as a whole, struggled to run the ball, but they've been able to see some flashes out of Rex. He's obviously got that veteran presence. He's played against this Jets team a number of times back in his days with the AFC East, so looking for him to hopefully get the ground game at least going a little bit more today. Logan wants to know, do you think Brandon Cooks or Nico Collins will have a big game? We talked about Brandon Cooks, and so did Tyrod Taylor, how he wants to see him more involved in the offense. He's his number one target, but guess what? Other defenses are starting to catch on as well, and they're doubling him. They're trying to cover Brandon Cooks, so he may not get as open as he did earlier on in the season or like he did last year. So maybe you will see a little bit more Nico Collins getting some more catches there from Tyrod. Their chemistry has come along really nicely as well.
Yeah, Fam on Twitter was asking me who's your player to watch today. I chose Nico because the Jets actually, their secondary has a bright shining star or two in it, and I think you'll see them do a decent job messing with Cooks. I still think Cooks is going to get his because you're inside again. It's clean again. Javari's asking how the weather it will be today. It's going to be perfect because it's 72.
The roof is
You're
closed.
indoors. Nothing's going to happen. But, yeah, I like Nico to have a pretty solid game to keep building on what he's been doing, which has been nice the last few times it hadn't been a monsoon out there, you know?
Yeah, I think for all these rookies, I mean, it just takes games and reps, and I think Nico, what we've heard from him this offseason from other players, and especially guys like Brandon Cooks, is that he never really carried himself like a rookie. He sort of took it all in, and he has gotten up to speed very, very quickly. Like you see a guy like Brevin Jordan, took them a while to make him active for games, but we saw Nico Collins out here pretty early. He landed on IR after week 2, so if there was any delay in him getting up to speed, it was just coming back from injury. But we've seen him come back. The offense as a whole has struggled, so that's probably why you haven't seen the catches from him. But now with Tyrod back in the mix and this offense sort of getting their chemistry going again, hopefully you see more from Nico Collins as well. Javari wants to know, will we see Lonnie Johnson Jr. at safety or corner today? It appears that Lonnie Johnson's move to corner is going to stay that way even with no Justin Reed today. They like putting Lonnie Johnson at corner. They say they're comfortable there, and more importantly, he feels more comfortable playing corner. So I don't foresee them moving him back to safety so quickly.
And really, he's been a special teamer the last 2 games.
Yeah,
he hasn't really even suited up. I know he didn't suit up for a defensive snap at Miami, and I kind of think he was not on defense against the Titans. I'd have to go back and check. But nevertheless, if he was, it was for a snap 2, maybe 3 tops. He's basically a special teamer at this point. That might change as we keep edging. I mean, there's still 7 games. After this one, you got 6 more. So even though we're into December, you got a lot of games, which seems weird because you think, oh, it's 4, maybe 5 tops. You still got 6 more games in the season.
Yeah.
So maybe he gets a little bit more look at corner or more reps at corner as the season goes on. But I don't think you'll see much of him if you see him on defense at all, DP.
All right, we're taking a look at some of the other wide receivers. Danny Amendola warming up. He caught a touchdown the last time he was playing alongside Tyrod Taylor here in week 1.
That's right.
He'd like to catch another one, I am sure, against also his former division opponent there. And we saw the running backs back there. There's number 26. He is Royce Freeman, and hopefully you see a little bit of him today. I'm curious to see how he runs. He filled in for Christian McCaffrey for the Panthers. He played 8 games for Carolina. And then, of course, McCaffrey comes off IR. They waive him, and the Texans pick him up. There he is right there, Royce Freeman.
You can kind of see it here on the screen, but when you see him in person, he's a big guy. I mean, he's stout. You know, you can't really tell it right there, but trust me, when he's on the practice field, he sort of stands out compared to the rest of the guys on this team. I mean, they're all big guys, quote unquote, but he is stout at running back. Going to be interesting to see what he looks like if he gets the ball much today. I think he does because you don't want to wear down a guy like Rex Burkhead. You don't want to wear down a guy like David Johnson too much. So I think you will see Royce Freeman.
And then another question. Chris from Beaumont, will Pharaoh Brown get a touchdown today? I mean, why not?
Let's go for it, Chris. I like that.
He's in the starting lineup. When he plays and he's healthy, he plays hard. So we saw the tight ends a little while ago. You got Brevin Jordan. You've got Anthony Auclair, who does a lot of blocking, actually, but he's also caught a touchdown here this season. And then Pharaoh Brown, who plays really hard. So sometimes these tight ends are used in the blocking scheme. Sometimes they're catching passes from Tyrod Taylor. So it's really hard to predict how the tight ends are going to play from week to week.
You know, it's interesting. We forgot to mention it's Salute to Service Sunday. So Texans honoring our folks that are serving and have served in the armed forces. It's going to be a lot of fun. That the home field advantage team captain is a 99-year-old or 99 years young if you're Willard Scott on the Today Show from way back when. Marine Corps veteran. He served in World War II. He served in Korea. Major Jack Craddock. So that's going to be fun to see him come out. That guy still lifts weights and still works out on a regular basis, and going to be cool to see him. He's thrown out the first pitch in an Astros game earlier this year. Also, Mona Lisa is giving a big shout-out to Sergeant Promise Harris and her daughter singing the national anthem today. She said they're amazing ladies. And of course, anybody that's got the guts to stand up and sing the national anthem down on the field before a football game, a baseball, any sort of game, I salute you. And we salute you for serving our country. We thank you for that, Promise Harris and your daughter. So cool stuff today. Going to be a lot of fun activities and honors and accomplishments going on throughout Salute to Service Sunday, DB.
There's your secondary warming up, and Ross Blacklock, who's played really well in recent weeks, he's out there as well, stretching and warming up. All right, let's get into our one-on-one of the week. We've got Jimmy Morrissey.
That's him.
It's his third start. He's a rookie, really impressed as a center here this year. Drew had a chance to catch up with him a little bit earlier in the week. Take a look.
And it's Drew Doherty here with center Jimmy Morrissey. And Jimmy, is there such a thing as momentum coming off a win? And if so, how much do you guys have of it? And what's it been like this week?
Definitely a thing, momentum, especially in the game of football. It's always good to come off a win, and you feel good about yourself, everything, just a better mood around the facility. So, but we still have a lot to clean up, and a good game this week against the Jets.
No doubt. This has been I imagine a whirlwind for you. You just started the last two games at center. They've both been on the road. This is going to be your first home game here at NRG Stadium. What's this last 5 weeks, 6 weeks been like for you?
It's been very chaotic, but it's everything. Being on the practice squad with the Raiders, it's what I wanted. I wanted an opportunity to play.
Sure.
And I said earlier in my press conference I had last week, it's been a dream come true. So I get the chance to play NFL football and actually have my hand on the ball in an NFL game and go out there and play. So it's been amazing, but it has been very chaotic and it's a lot of work, but I have a really good group surrounding me and a lot of people helping me out.
No doubt. You do have a lot of help. What's been the biggest challenge as far as when you just football-wise, when you look at everything you've had to do as far as preparation, actually on game day, what's been the biggest challenge for you thus far?
The hardest part is really transferring the playbook over.
Mm-hmm.
I still have the Raiders playbook in my mind, and now it's, has to be, hey, now I'm running the Texans playbook. So just making sure I study enough, and, the playbook isn't really what I'm focusing on in the huddle. It's more of the technique and what block I'm going to take opposed to who I'm going to block.
Against the Dolphins as an offense, not just the offensive line, but as an offense, they get after the quarterback. 9 quarterback hits, 5 sacks, and then you guys flip the switch. 1 quarterback hit the entire day. No sacks for the first time in about a year. What was the difference? Why were you guys so much more successful, one game after the next?
I think especially this past weekend it was nice because we had a lead.
Mm-hmm.
So that always changes the way you call the playbook. Also the rain game, it's very hard to drop back and, throw a lot. But we had good communication up front. Still a lot to improve, especially on my part. I need to play a lot better. And we did have good cohesiveness out there. Tyrod's been phenomenal back there. And we just had a good game, and lucky that our defense played amazing too. So that helps.
And as we were walking into this interview, Tyrod was coming out of another interview, said, "Hey, Slim Jimmy." So you guys always have a nice rapport there.
Yeah, he calls me Slim Jim.
Slim Jim, that's a good one. Snap into a Slim Jim for all you Macho Man Randy Savage fans out there. Aside, you say you got to play better. What are some things you got to do better? I mean, you're still young in your NFL career. There's a lot you can do better, I imagine. But what is it? What are some of the things you're trying to pinpoint and hone and get better at?
So I've been leaning a lot. I got to keep my head up. So that's really technique, what I'm focusing on, and then just processing faster at the line of scrimmage with this new playbook. And now, like you said, 5 weeks coming on. This is going to be my third start. Can't use that excuse. I mean, not that it was an excuse before, but now I'm going into my third game, and it's not, oh, I'm new, I just got here. Right. That's out the door. So it's time to start, performing like I know I can.
Tell me about this Jets defensive front. Now, as a team, they're struggling too, but you can't really pinpoint on those guys. That defense looks like they can do some things up in the trenches, can't they?
No, that D-line especially, those 4 interior guys that they rotate in there are very impressive, especially, number 95 and 94 really are their starters. But when they rotate in 98 and 97 too, they're phenomenal too. But yeah, their starting D tackles are really good, solid players, and I'm excited to play them.
Now let's see how you're powering game day. Do you have any superstitions as far as getting ready before game?
I did. They usually change with every season. This year, I really don't have any superstition. I just take my little scoop of caffeine and my protein powder.
Mm-hmm.
But then other than that, I really do not have a game day suspicion. In the past, I used to always listen to the Jersey Boy soundtrack.
Okay. How come?
I don't like getting all hyped up before the game.
Uh-huh.
Oh, I do have a pregame tradition.
Tell me.
I do mindfulness. So I have this guided meditation for 15 minutes on Spotify. It's one of my few saved things on Spotify, no matter if I have Wi-Fi or not.
Interesting.
So I just sit in my locker and I practice mindfulness and then try to visualize the game. So 15 minutes of just doing nothing but breathing.
Fantastic. What do you do the night before? When do you go to bed? How long do you sleep? When do you get up?
I try to go to bed early, depending on when meetings get done. Bed check's usually at 10. I try to, as soon as bed check's done, I'm right in bed. And that's usually late for me because on weekdays I try to go to bed around 8:30, 9 o'clock. So, and then I like to wake up early, take the first bus. I just like to be at the stadium for as long as I possibly can.
You want to be prepared.
Yeah.
I like it. That's good. Jimmy Morrissey, best of luck against the Jets. Best of luck the rest of the way. Thanks so much. Happy Thanksgiving as well.
Happy
It's been
Thanksgiving
this week, okay?
Thanks for having me, Drew.
That was Jimmy Morrissey, rookie center, getting his third start today. And a little bit of related news, Justin Britt, who was the veteran center, he has been designated to return off IR. So that means the Texans have a 21-day window in which they can open up returning him to the active roster. So something to keep an eye on in the next few weeks.
And Morrissey's somebody that you might have found something with. I'm not saying he's Bruce Matthews, but I'm saying you might have something with this guy moving forward because he's played pretty well if you listen to folks who know the offensive line game and all that stuff. So pretty fun interview there.
All right, let's talk about another big rookie for the Jets. Number 2 overall draft pick, Zach Wilson. He's back in the lineup. He's going to make his first start since week 7. He's got about a 60% completion percentage in 2 of his past 3 starts, but overall for the season, it's been rough for Wilson. Yeah. 4 touchdowns, 9 interceptions.
Key number right there.
19 sacks, right. And this Texans defense, which likes to get interceptions, they picked off a veteran like Ryan Tannehill 4 times last week. So this is going to be a big challenge for Zach Wilson.
Yeah, think about it. 6 picks for the Texans defense in the last two games combined. Getting after the quarterback has been something they've done pretty well lately. And now you get the guy who's got the most sacks on your team, most quarterback hits on your team, most tackles for loss on your team back to play against a rookie who's turned it over and who's gone down and hit the deck a lot. Could be a nice thing for the Texans. I like it. Let's see it. Let's get after him. Let's rattle that rookie.
Let's get after it. Let's get the Texans their second win in a row. It's the Texans, it's the Jets. We are about, 35 minutes from kickoff. You can catch the game on CBS, also Sports Radio 610. That's going to do it for Texans Unlimited, presented by Verizon. To everyone that worked on this show, led by Tyler Marcotte, thank you so much for watching. And as always, go Texans.